South Korean films have become pretty popular worldwide over the past decade or so. But what about Korean horror? Today I'd like to talk about some of my favorite Korean horror movies in order by how scary they are. Starting with The Host. I go back and forth on whether this is horror. If this monster flick is horror, then is Godzilla? Is Jurassic World Rebirth? To be fair, watching people online fall on their swords to defend Rebirth is like self-gaslighting, and in that way it is deep, deep psychological horror. But I digress. We'll leave it as borderline horror because, hey, it's an excuse to talk about The Host. It's great. For starters, the monster design is actually interesting to look at, and fittingly for the plot, looks malformed. I love how acrobatic it is, seemingly diving and flipping not for necessity but for fun. I do think the film peaks with its opening action scene, but it's not like the rest isn't good, it is. The actors are able to sell the terror, the grief, and the comedy, and not a single performance distracted me despite how the movie switches tones. Kang Ho-sung proves once again that he is the go-to guy to play hapless idiots who arc into more complex characters by the finale. The action is satisfying and the socio-political commentary is more relevant than ever. But yeah, this scene is the peak because it's so damn good. It effortlessly bounces between physical comedy and some pretty horrific moments. The Host also has some balls and goes places in its narrative I did not expect. I felt really bad for the characters, and it's the kind of monster flick where I didn't want to see anyone die. The Host isn't scary and is only borderline horror, but it needs to be seen not only for all the reasons I mentioned, but because the Google algorithm needs this host to beat the one from the writer of Twilight. Dear God. Next is I Saw the Devil. Similar situation, is it horror or just revenge? Does the violence automatically give it the old horror cattle prod? I'll tell you what though, this movie made me want to commit violence against the villain in this movie. Holy shit, does I Saw the Devil hold no punches when it comes to making you despise the bad guy. The setup to the movie is fairly basic. A cop's wife is murdered and mutilated, and he goes on a revenge mission, ultimately losing much of his humanity in the process. But calling the setup basic isn't a criticism. It's just enough of a foundation for the film to explore the complexities of both villains and heroes, and also explore just how depraved the violence can get. You fully understand the motivation of the protagonist, and his descent into violence is something that many of us would probably identify with if we lost a loved one like this. The antagonist is an animal, a despicable creature, but his strength, speed, and intelligence make him not just a dumb brute, but a complex threat. We get incredible acting from the two leads. The makeup looks great, the shots are framed with purpose, and one particular 360 shot will make you sit up straighter in your chair. The characters in this movie take hits to the head like Homer Simpson, and that did hurt the immersion a little bit for me. Otherwise, this is a brutally effective film both emotionally and viscerally, and it's got a payoff that feels good in the moment and then heart-wrenching the more you think about it. Call it good drama, call it post-nut clarity, whatever you want, this is a good movie. Next is Train to Busan. 2016 was one of the best years for horror, a video topic that's in the works by the way, and Train to Busan is a big reason for it. It's emotional, it's fun as hell, and the pacing is faster than Amazon trying to ruin James Bond. The movie is more action-focused than building a sense of fear, and I actually think this worked in its favor. The plot builds a genuine sense of camaraderie between the characters, and the train is a perfect location. The small corridors mean that action scenes are tight and panicky. Every time they shut a door on a zombie, it's in the nick of time. The sequence where the men gear up and fight their way through multiple cars is exhilarating. The action also just hits hard. The punches land convincingly, the actors realistically struggle against the hordes, and the weight of bodies in small spaces is a dominant sight throughout the film. It's good action, well shot, and rough. The creepiest moments for me are in the early sections. The intro is simple and quiet, almost nonchalant, and to me that lends a kind of sick quality to it. The way that first zombie sneaks onto the train is so fast, you almost miss it. It's a calm before the storm, but such a quick calm. Before you can really get your bearings, you know everything is about to go very wrong. I still think Gongyu is giving a weak performance as the father, at least compared to everyone else. Ma Dong-seok is charismatic and tough, and Kim Soo-won gives one of the most heartbreakingly beautiful child performances ever. In the third act especially, she is unbelievable. If you somehow haven't seen this and want to watch something fast and fun but with some emotional weight, I would highly recommend this. It's probably the easiest watch on this list. Next is The Wailing. Where to even start? The cinematography is lush and purposeful. The acting is fantastic, including the child actress. The production design made me buy this old-timey village, and those little details, the disrepair, the ritualistic decor, immersed me deeply into this world. Music, editing, makeup, it's all professionally done. I wouldn't call the overall experience scary, partly due to the occasional bits of comedy that I don't really care for, and it's definitely a film that's trying to shatter your heart more than give you nightmares. But there are definitely scary moments. An early scene with the demon is horrifying, and the camera angles, slow pace, and ambient sound make you feel like you're there. It's violating. Jun Kunimura gives a confident and intimidating performance, and The Wailing has by far the scariest demon ever put to screen. I described this movie before as the deer hunter of horror, and what I mean is that this is something you strap into. You don't watch it casually, you don't watch it with your phone on your thigh, but you watch it knowing that it's something heavy and cathartic, something that leaves you thrilled and battered like a beautiful storm.
사람이 말을 했으면 대답을 하던가 대가리를 까닥을 해, 이 씨발놈아!
Runner-up is A Tale of Two Sisters. This movie is one of the most effective midpoints between scary and sad. The soundtrack is quite varied in style, but all carries melancholy, dashed hopes. The acting is wonderful. When the sisters cry, it actually feels like crying. Different kinds of crying out of fear, crying out of unfairness. The plot spends the time developing the sisterly bond and how much the eldest is dedicated to protecting the youngest. A Tale of Two Sisters is colorful and well staged. Despite having basically 4 characters and 1 location, there's plenty of fresh and tense interactions and visual eye candy. The cinematography glows with emotion. I don't know how else to put it. So many shots have feeling. So it's an effective drama, but without taking away from that, this movie is scary as hell in some places. The build-up to the jump scares is perfect. The acting, again, serves the horror well, as I fully believe the terror on their faces. The camera always seems to be in the perfect place to squeeze horror out of every scene. The ending is both horrifying and devastating. By far though, the scariest bit is when someone wakes up from a nightmare and realizes a ghost is in the room. There are moments in life, and I'm sure many of us share this, where you're in bed somehow knowing that something is wrong. You sit up, but other than that, you are too scared to move. This scene replicates that to a T. Before my number 1, I want to quickly mention some movies that didn't make the list. And I gotta say, there doesn't seem to be much middle ground with Korean horror. I've seen a lot of gold and a lot of lead. So if you're curious what didn't make it, The Piper drags too much, and one strong performance is offset by a goofy and unconvincing one. Whispering Corridors looks like a TV movie. Cinderella is melodramatic and uninteresting. Memories of Murder is awesome, but I just don't see how it's horror at all. The Call, I'm not sure is horror either, but I just want to rewatch it anyway. And my most recent watch, Into the Mirror, starts out atmospheric and intriguing, and I really liked it, but devolves into a drunken Gordian knot of themes, twists, bad art analysis, and a woman somehow both stupid and boring. Just the worst combo. Still, consider this an invitation. If there's a fantastic and or terrifying Korean film that I missed, toss it in the comments. And with that, my number one is Gonjiam Haunted Asylum. And yeah, anyone familiar with my channel probably predicted this already. Yes, Gonjiam Haunted Asylum is the scariest film from South Korea that I've seen so far. A film that did the impossible by frightening me more on a second watch. A film that rattled me so deeply I can't shut up about it. A film whose slower first act was my only real issue with it. But then on my second watch, I realized how smart that was, and did a whole video just about it. A film with a third act that can best be described as nightmare nitroglycerin. It's like the movie unrolls this pack of tools and says, here are my tools. And then you're just waiting to see how each of them will be scary later on, and they all are. The acting is great, the character motivations actually make sense, and I especially enjoy how trippy this gets. Also, don't Google image this one or it will ruin an infamous scare for you. Sure, it's not for everyone, but what scary movie is when you really get down to it? The Wailing may be the most impressive on the list, but no Korean film robbed me of sleep as much as Gonjiam Haunted Asylum, and that is why it's number one. So I would love to know what are the best and scariest Korean horror films on your list. Comment below. Also, check out this video on the scariest Japanese horror movies, and click the Patreon link below to support the channel. Subscribe, share the video, all the support is amazing, and as always, thanks for watching.